Welcome in, everyone, to episode 128 of the Battlecast podcast. I'm your host, Peng. And if my background looks weird and dingy or like dark, well, one, it's late, but two, I literally just moved like a few days ago, so I haven't really set anything up. But I can already tell you that I have more couches than Anicor owns.
I was
and
gonna
he's been
say
there
who's
for a hot
living in a
second.
cell now, but yeah, it's true. It's true. I
Still you. Yeah.
I still haven't got
Anyway, we're joined by Anicor, but we got a very special guest too, and also across the other side of the world too. From me, closer to Anicor, we got ZoëTwoDots joining us today. How are you doing, Zoe?
Doing good, boys. How are you guys going? It's a filthy hot day today in Australia, but making the most of it.
Amazing. Last week
How
was terrible.
isn't that?
Yeah.
When I was in Australia last year, or I don't know, I guess it was earlier this year. I never realized how much the temperature fluctuates in a few hours.
It depends where
I was
you
in
visit
Melbourne.
for sure. Yeah, well, that's the Melbourne experience. Yeah, it is. I feel like it's specifically Melbourne gets insane. Like whenever I visited, it's like you have to have a jumper because the amount of times I've bought a jumper visiting Melbourne in summer is ridiculous. I have a collection now, so it's just like just take it because you're going to need it somehow because this is going to change. But thankfully, where I am is a bit more stable. But it's fun.
That's
fun.
beautiful though. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was just shocked at how much, like it was like, well, I don't know Celsius very well, but it was like 90 plus degrees Fahrenheit, like very hot and humid. And we're just like, everyone's just trying to find a restaurant to go to. We were going to grab lunch anyway, but it was just like super hot. And then I see them opening the windows like 30 minutes later while we're eating. I was like, wait, it's going to be steaming hot in here. And then I go outside and it's like 30 degrees cooler. And I just don't even understand how that could happen in like 30 minutes. But yeah, the temperatures.
Apparently, it's Arctic winds.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what that means. But
it's literally like because Melbourne is there's nothing blocking the wind coming up from the Arctic to Melbourne basically because they're on the bottom curvy bit of Australia. They just cop if Antarctica decides to be spicy that day. It's like, well, temperature change for you guys. So,
yeah.
Days.
Wow, the more you know. Well, anyway, I think I would be shocked if anyone from our audience doesn't know who you are, Zoe. But in case there's someone that doesn't, feel free to introduce yourself. You know, where your real name is Zoe, correct? Or your first name?
Yeah.
Okay, because some people they miss.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, they do like the cheeky names. Yeah.
Yeah, like Steve.
But like someone quite local to you.
Yes, exactly.
I know, no idea who you're talking about.
Because you wouldn't know him by Steve, would you? You'd know him by his actual name.
No, Steve is Steve. I'm here in fibs.
But where does ZoëTwoDots? Where did that name come from? By the way, was it like a handle used in past games?
Yes, but it's technically quite literally instructions on how to spell my name. So my name is Zoe, like with the 2 dots above the E, with the umlaut. It was from my year 12 jersey. So in Australia, when you finish high school, finish year 12, I don't know if every school does it, but everyone in our area did, where it's like instead of wearing a sports uniform on a Friday, the year 12 kids would have their jersey where it's like a custom design and you get like your name, nickname, whatever printed on across the back. And for whatever reason, like the printing company was like, no special characters. You can't have an umlaut. And I just wanted Zoe on the back of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want Zoe and 2 dots. I was like, oh, well, they just spell it out like that. So ZoëTwoDots came from that on my high school jersey. And then very fortunately was at the time where like a lot of online gaming and like Instagram or whatever else was coming out. So I managed to like snag the handle on most of the things, very fortunately. So yeah,
that's pretty awesome. You know, it's really sad how long it took me to realize that that's what your username meant, and by like how long it meant, like literally like 5 minutes ago when you started explaining it. And
that's
I was
the
like,
usual
wait, hold on.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, because I've seen your name spelled out too, but I just like never pieced it together until now, which is
that is a very common experience. Don't worry. It's usually someone's go like, why is it that? And then like as they're asking it, they're like, wait a second, like it all comes together. So.
That's awesome. Did you play Pokemon before Pokemon Go? Because you know, everyone did something before 2016, but how deep were you in the Pokemon lore?
original recipe Pokemon baby. Like I was the prime demographic for like when the anime came out. So I was like 4-ish in Australia when we got the like the TV show, the anime. And then I definitely did not play the games correctly, but I sure as hell played I played everything except for Gen 3 as they came out. Yeah. So I guess first started by like borrowing a cousin's copy. I think I borrowed their version of Red, but the first one I owned was Yellow. And then from there playing like had Gold on the Game Boy Color, like just plugged it into my Game Boy Advance sort of thing. And then over the years, played all the gens except for Gen 3 as they came out sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you were a big Pokemon fan even before Pokemon Go dropped. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you so for those that don't know as well, Zoe is a content creator too for Pokemon Go and other Pokemon games at times too. But what got you into just creating content too? Because I think you were probably one of the first YouTubers
for Go,
start, right?
Yeah. So I had originally like done a couple of videos for like just travel vlog stuff, like I think a few years before Go came out, and it was just like, had really enjoyed watching people like doing, just Japan vlogs and things like that, or like, I went through the Pokemon Center and just kind of cute things like that. And I was like, when I go on holiday, I might do the same thing. So somewhere in the deep recesses of my channel are still these very poorly edited like original like travel vlogs of just like, going through the Pokemon Center or whatever else. I'd always like played video games, obviously played Pokemon and stuff separately to that, but the actual like ability to be a content creator, I think was probably a lot harder and I guess a lot of Aussies can probably relate with like how terrible our internet is, and especially, even when Pokemon Go came out, like our home Wi-Fi sort of situations were still like ADSL2, like slow as hell. So it's kind of like you might want to do that, but good luck. Yeah, it's like terrible. Like you couldn't even live stream on the internet that we had because it was less than 1 meg uploads, like atrocious.
Wait, were you talking about this last week, Anicor, or?
No, but I was thinking like now, do you know what I mean? So like
it's
now
still pretty bad now, depending.
It's not, it's not amazing now, but thinking about it, obviously over the last few years, most places have, like got like fiber or something like that. So there's been like quite a bit of an increase, but I mean, this is nearly, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I can't really imagine how
we've had a lot of kerfuffles with our yeah. There's been a lot of like ongoing, that sort of stuff with Australian internet that goes just beyond like it's a whole thing.
Was it just last week or like 2 weeks ago where an entire mobile network just shut off for a day?
Oh yeah, I think like Optus just turned off, or was Optus or Telstra, whichever one. Pick your flavor for whichever decides to have an outage. I think it was Optus. But yeah, the whole network went down, which is pretty wild.
What?
Yeah.
Hey.
But
okay, so not the best Wi-Fi kind of when Go came out.
No. Like at least on your phone mobile, like if you're using 4G at the time, whatever else, like that's fine at least. But yeah, like home internet was just atrocious. But it kind of like, so I was always interested in like, the content creation side of things, but it being functionally possible was like pretty difficult. Didn't have a proper PC, couldn't afford capture card, consoles, whatever else, couldn't stream because there was no upload speeds. So then when Pokemon Go came out, I was like, or when it was, it's going to come out, I was like, oh, well, all you need is a phone and your camera. And I have both of these things. Ripperoni the upload speeds, but I have these two things. I don't need to buy a PC. I don't need a capture card, whatever else. Why don't I try that? So I was like in the process of filming the first video for my channel, to be like, hey, I'm going to be covering Pokemon Go stuff. Here's what I'm going to be like in Australia, whatever else. And like that very next day, Pokemon Go just dropped. It was like, hey, it's out. So I was at work, like sitting at my desk at work, and my coworker's like, it's out. It's out. And I'm just like, I'm going on lunch break, and I just like sprinted out to like, go and play the game. So it was very, very literally like my first video is the first day pretty much of Pokemon Go coming out.
Wait, was it released at the same time in Australia as it was in the US, or was it a few days?
We got it a day early. We got a day early.
You got a day early.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, so time zones were.
I remember at the time people were like,
too, for you all.
They were like changing their app store region to Australia,
yes.
so they could
to try and play it early.
They could download it earlier.
That's amazing.
I believe the logic was they tried to like soft launch it in Australia because it's like a smaller player base, just to be like, okay, it's like the first wave of people. But then, like you're saying, everyone's trying to like change the app store. Like everyone's like, oh my God, how do I get it? Like, and just obliterated the servers. But yeah.
That's wild. So you had a travel YouTube channel essentially, and then
like tiny one, but yeah.
And then it became it's essentially the same channel.
The same channel, the exact same channel where the videos are. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, so you were like really on top of it, like from day one too.
Yes, but I guess I had no clue really on like the YouTube algorithm, those sorts of things. I hadn't built up like a lot of a base or following or whatever. Like I probably had a couple hundred subscribers sort of thing. So yeah, when Go dropped, it was just kind of like, oh, right, like I've put all this work in, here's a video. All right, 20 views, sick, what? And like obviously looking back, they're not amazing videos. Like I didn't know what I was doing. They're pretty rough. But very early on, Nick Trainer Tips was doing like a international Dex series where he was getting people from around the world to film an episode and submit them sort of thing. So you would film it, edit it, send it to him, and he would like feature you as an episode sort of thing. So I'd emailed him at the end of 2016, like it was just before Christmas-ish, and I was kind of like, hey, and then he got back to me whatever weeks later and was like, yeah, cool, would love to have you on, go for it, make an episode. And so I like intentionally tried to like, I went and got the same, like purchased the same soundtrack and everything that he would use for his episodes and that sort of thing, to try and like basically do an episode in his style so that his audience would like, ideally resonate with it, enjoy it, like they would have the same kind of vibe. And through doing that, I was like, I need to like, I can be tightening up my editing skills like way more. It's like observing, like actually critically watching someone else's stuff. But yeah, submitted that. It did really, really well. I woke up and I had like 1,000 subscribers and I was like, holy crap, what do I do? What do you guys want? Do you need water? Do you need food? Like, and they're just like, just keep doing what you're doing. We liked what you did. We liked your video. Just keep going. And I'm just like, okay, all right, so now I'm going to hatch some eggs. Like, and then that's kind of, that was like quite literally the defibrillators for my channel, was that collaboration kind of started that core bunch of humans. And I went from there.
At what point did you decide that like it was going to be something that you were going to do, like, I want to say full time, because maybe there was a part before that. But do you know what I mean? Like, at what point did you decide that you were going to like commit to it fully?
I definitely like I feel like definitely after that collaboration, I was like, okay, this is possible, that it's like, I'm not just putting in 8 hours of work and getting 10 views sort of thing. Like there is cool. We've got a little core audience and they like what I'm doing. I'm getting more comfortable with being me on camera and talking to a camera and not being super awkward. But it was kind of like, I guess from that, honestly, from pretty early days, it was kind of like, I would love if this was possible to be a thing, to do full time, to do as a job. Obviously at the time was earning like nothing from YouTube. So it's kind of like, that's clearly not financially an option. But honestly, over the first 2 years-ish, I would say, so I think it was by the end of, I always get my dates mixed up. If it was end of 2018 or end of 2019 was when it was kind of like, okay, I think it was into 2018. It's like, okay, it's not paying the bills just yet, but we're earning something. But the counterbalance between the hours that I put in to work full time at my graphic design job and then filming on my lunch break, editing after work, like I'm getting no, work-life balance. It was like work and then second work. And it was sort of this point where it's like, okay, if I could put that time from the graphics job into this, it should, everything's trajecting up. It should be, within a couple of months be at a point where it is sustainable or, profitable financially. But, you know, do I take that risk and quit my job sort of thing? And it was at a time as well where I was just kind of not loving my job either. And my partner, Alan, was kind of like, hey, how about you quit? Like, we're not going to become destitute if you do. And if it doesn't work out in a month, 2 months, whatever, you can find another job and it's fine. Like, we've got savings, like, you know, his income sort of thing. He's like, we're fine. Quit. And if it doesn't work out, like, we'll figure something else out. So I did. I quit and it all worked out, thankfully. So yeah, it's all been going good. So I'm glad that I had that, you know, opportunity to do that and support to do that. So, but yeah, I think for a lot of people, there'd definitely be that teetering point of like, you know, that maybe if you had the more time to put into it, you could be doing it full time. But do you take the giant risk of bailing out of something that's a known sustainably fine, but you're not loving it, to take the risk to do it, sort of thing? So yeah.
I did something similar too, because I was also working a kind of regular 9 to 5, and I was just like so tired afterward. I'm like, oh, I gotta make these videos and do all this stuff, and it's like, oh, let's just take the risk and see what happens. But it's nice to not have like performance evaluations with a boss anymore. And all that stuff. Like,
just sit down and negotiate. Like,
I know, and all that stuff, and like all the paperwork stuff. You can just do your own thing. It's funny that you mentioned the trainer tips collaboration video, because I was like blanking earlier, thinking like, when did I first watch your videos? And then I realized that was the video that I first saw your video, because I used to watch all his videos. I still watch his videos from time to time, but I used to watch his videos like religiously every day. And I remember your video was really cool too in that regard.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. So I had something I had in mind, but Anicor, if you have a question, go for it. But I had something in mind. I was gonna have some. I'm blanking at it right now. You good? You're like half baked in the sun right now, and like half like I don't know what's going on. You look like Two-Face from like Batman.
I can't really do anything about it, so I thought I'd lean into it and just do the Two-Face thing. I got it like really square in the middle.
So I was gonna ask. You started traveling around the world too, right? When Pokemon Go started having kind of like in-person events. I think one of their first events was probably the Lapras event in Japan. Were you at that one? Because I know Japan's like close-ish. Yeah.
No, I think no, because I'd already had planned, like, me and Alan had planned like a Japan holiday, I think for the end, like coming up in 2017 sort of thing, early 2017. So it's kind of like, well, I can't really justify a YOLO flight to, you know, to Japan. So my first, like, obviously I filmed on like our trip for that, but like my first travel like for Pokemon Go specifically was 2018 Chicago Go Fest. Yeah. Yeah. So before that, any of the earlier on ones, no, I was again like watching like through other people's, watching Nick's videos and that sort of thing. For those really early events. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So, well, yeah, I guess I was only the second one too, because the first one was 2017.
Yeah, the first one was wild.
I heard stories.
Yes, but, I heard the tales.
Didn't get a chance to go. And then I feel like there was Niantic hosted kind of like a global tour thing, right? Were they doing like safaris just around the world or something? And then were you a part of that? Like, I know they kind of like pulled in some content creators for the first time and were, you know, kind of
so that I was I was kind of brought in like just after that. So there was that original, they did like the 3 like Go Fest and the Safari Zones kind of together. So it was like the German event, USA and Japan. And then I traveled out for the Japan one. I wasn't like part of the official like production thing, but I was like Nick and that, they were like, yep, cool. Like we're going to be, you know, staying on in Japan to film a bit more after the Safari Zone anyway. And I was kind of like, hey, am I a pest if I tag along? Like, you guys want to share Airbnb, whatever else? Like, again, don't want to be a pest, but happy to share. And we ended up just like traveling around Japan after that safari for like 3 weeks-ish almost. and just filming like in Osaka, in Kyoto, in Tokyo sort of thing, and just kind of like having awesome summer. And I think that as well was probably like a really like that was like a massive, I guess, kick for all of us as well, because we're all getting to know each other, like traveling, meeting face to face sort of thing, collaborating. And then from the Japan trip at the end of that year, kind of like then fed into 2019 was ridiculous. Like there was so many events 2019. I think I got to like September in 2019 and I was like, oh my God, it's not even the end of the year yet. Like, Jesus, how much have we done this year? Like it was insane. So I think that kind of like kicked off from their official thing that they were all doing into just all of us kind of like, traveling together, working together. And I was kind of like put into that Niantic group just after the Japan one finished up. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And, for those that, I'm sure some people don't realize this too, right? And I don't fully realize it too, because I'm not like big on, like, I'm not a great vlogger or anything too, but it's a lot of work when you're all traveling to all these things, right? Because I know you're going there and then you're collaborating, you're filming, you're making content, and then like once the day's over, the day's not really over, because then you have to go back and like edit everything in the hotel room, wherever, and then upload and like start the next day. Like these are probably like 12 plus hour days, right?
Massive days. I think it's gotten a little bit like, I think especially like probably this year and last year with YouTube, and I guess if you're someone who's like strategizing and thinking ahead, not me, like you could be planning the events a bit better, because it used to very much be like everyone wants to see it now, like who's the first one to have the video up, like because everyone's like on and wanting to see immediately. And I think over the last year and a bit, like YouTube's algorithm favors videos that are a bit more curated around an idea or a question or a concept sort of thing. So stuff like what Brandon does, where he's like, catching 100 Pokemon in 24, shiny Pokemon in 24 hours sort of thing. So he's planned ahead to, all right, day 1 and day 2 of this event, he's just going to be like hoodie on, catching his 100 shiny sort of thing. But then that sort of thing isn't fully dependent on being uploaded that night. It's going to have the longevity as an interesting video that is also at an event that it's fine that it doesn't go up that night sort of thing. Whereas if it's, I guess a lot more of what I do, because of being Australia and having the time zone advantage for just general events, people want to see what's happening in the new event. So I've gotten pretty good at like, all right, speed run this, get home, smash out an edit. Hopefully it's like, succinct and still looks nice and whatever else. But yeah, like definitely those, especially the earlier events where it's just, all right, you're up at whatever o'clock, get fed, get in there, you're playing the whole event day. And then quite literally like go home, drop the files. I would try and like min-max my editing. So it's kind of like, okay, well, while this is exporting, I'm going to jump in the shower so I can finally not feel like I'm dying, and then like come back out and do the thumbnail. And then that's perfectly timed for the upload. It's going to take as long as the thumbnail takes to get done, sort of thing. And then you eventually just crash and pass out and start the next day.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't think people realize it. And again, like I said, like I'm not as grinding nearly as hard too, especially if I'm not making vlog content. But I remember one of my friends recently told me, she's like being a content creator is not as easy as it sounds, right? I was like, no, it's not. She's like, it's like you never really have like days off. You just kind of have to, there's always more you can do, right? At least in my mind, I would feel like there's always more you can do, but also there's just, it's I feel like there's always like a constant fight to like stay relevant to viewership as well, to a degree.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just kind of like there's, especially like early days, no one can probably justify having an editor or things like that. Or even for me, still currently, I can't completely justify having an editor. And I've only had someone edit probably less than 10 of my videos. And that's been for like the big events in the last, like pretty much last year and a bit, because it's like, I know that I'm just going to be too overwhelmed. There's too much to film. If I'm trying to do multiple videos, I'm going to fall behind. So it's like, okay, I know I can do my video first day, and then second, third day I can compile and send to the editor sort of thing. But it's just kind of like, for me, when the time zone thing is such a thing, why would I spend the time to then send off the files, to then they have to edit it, to then I'm like, oh, can you change this, change that? It's just faster if I do it, sort of thing. So then it's like, oh, I can't even have reprieve like on a regular like week video. So yeah, it is hard as well. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, what things can I, film in advance that aren't time sensitive or whatever else potentially to offset that? But it,
Yeah, I didn't think about the editor thing for the time zone advantage, because then you just kind of like wipe away the couple
the
hours
advantage,
you have.
exactly.
Depending on where it is. I remember I was listening to another podcast where Billy, the trainer club, the guy that runs the trainer club videos, he was saying that one day he hopes to move to maybe Australia just to have that like time zone advantage for events too, because I think he's in like the West Coast right now, which is like one of the worst times to put out relevant content for new events. But I guess like the flip side is
like really significant. And then also in comparison to the fact that also you get the most bugs and most issues with
the trade-off. Yeah, exactly.
How does that how do you feel it like factors in personally?
It's hard because it's like I feel like the easiest one to look at for the advantage is something like a community day, where it's like, at least with a regular event, there's different angles, people enjoy different aspects, like whereas someone else might like doing more raiding than I do, or like I like to do eggs, whatever. People can find their person that they like to watch for that flavor, whereas like the time zone might not have that much of a difference. But like for a community day, you can just see the difference in like as the time zone rolls out. If you're in one of the later time zones, the views just aren't there. Even if I've been in a different time zone and someone could be like, yeah, I know that Zoe always does Com Day video, or like, I like what she does, blah, blah, blah. By the time it gets to like, when I was, say, for example, in Germany, you're already in that time, so it's one of the last ones to get the event. People have already seen it. They're fine. They know what to expect. They know what's in the research. They're ready. They don't need to see 20 of the same experience, essentially. So I think that's like one of the easier ones to see just how, I guess, how impactful the time zone advantage can be, which I'm appreciative of. And so I definitely try to, use that, especially for Com Day. But yeah, it's the bug trade-off is it's honestly at like some points it's just ridiculous. Like I don't touch wood. Things have been kind of chill. It's just for the last month-ish, I guess. Like there's been little things, but nothing exploded. So. But it's honestly just like exhausting after the 100th broken event. You're like, can we just get someone that clocks on with New Zealand to just solve it in 60 seconds, not in, 6 days time?
Well, I'm sure you probably lost track of how many makeup events you've had at this point too, right? Because
someone's got a website that tracks them. Someone's got a website keeping count. Which is again mostly New Zealand. Like New Zealand cops, that time zone. Anyone in that time zone, they cop so much more. Like Australia's had plenty, but we've probably had a quarter maybe of what they've had. I think that website's up to over 130 broken events and stuff. So
I can't lie.
Of varying degrees of intensity. So
I haven't actually experienced any bugs while I've been here. But for me, one of the biggest disadvantages is like what you were saying. The advantages is that nobody knows about the event beforehand.
Yeah.
Because when I was in London, I would just Google the night before, be like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to bother doing. And now it's like I won't know until an hour before. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I actually have to play the event, so.
Like, is it going to be good to, or like things like the XL candy one for Halloween recently.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, is this going to be good or not? And I'm like, let's go. I'm going to go film this video. Let's have a good time. And I'm like an hour in and I'm like, where the hell is the candy? Where's the where's the XL? I'm getting angry. Like, and I'm messaging people in New Zealand, be like, have you gotten anything out of this thing? Like, what's going on?
But that's what the content's so good because you get like you're like the reaction video, right? Like you are the initial reaction of everything.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's like you'll be reacting like, oh, this sucks. And then it's like, oh, it turns out it sucked because it was broken, not because it was actually bad. So it's like, oh, well, hope it's good for you guys. Enjoy. Turns out it's going to be better, you know.
Well, that's actually such a good point. I didn't even think about it because like the Halloween event, like there wasn't really XLs for anyone, but for you might have been thinking maybe it's just not working for us, right? Like it's just another broken event for like Australia, New Zealand, and turns out unfortunately for everyone that wasn't even the case. But
it's one of those ones you're like, oh, that's so annoying, but you know, thankfully it's probably just a bug. Submit, you know, help, you know, hey guys, this isn't working, and then like the time zones keep rolling and nothing's changing and you're like, oh no, it's just a crap event. Like, oh dear. Okay, well, oh well. Yeah.
I will say the time zone advantage is definitely nice for I feel like I see you, especially on like Twitter or X, as like almost like a news reporter for Go, because anytime there's a new event, especially like a very exciting or potentially exciting one, like it's always like you'll have some update on it too, right? Whether good or bad. I have another friend, he's actually in New Zealand, but he only tweets about like the bugs and stuff, so like it's really hard to figure out like how good event is.
If it's good or not,
because most of the time like nothing's ever working for him anyway, so like it's not really informative for me, but no, I think it's really helpful stuff too, for just content for everyone else to stay informed.
Yeah, I think it's helpful as well because it's like sometimes there'll be a certain aspect of an event where it's like, oh, this is surprisingly better, or like, hey, there's this loophole, like take advantage of this for like the Stardust or the XP or whatever. And it's not until you're playing it that you're like, oh, so it's good to be able to give people that heads up as well.
So you talked about how 2019, you know, it was a ton of events, ton of traveling, stuff like that, and obviously 2020 was like, it went the other direction, right? But like, so what was that like, especially being a content creator for Go, right? Where exploration was like the key thing, just like a few months prior, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, all travel suspended and everyone's kind of doing stuff. I know. Trainer Tips was like DJing in his like studio and stuff to like junkie days and stuff. Like, what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty wild. Like I guess thankfully had experience with, you know, live streaming and stuff like that. You know, Australia had kind of fixed the internet enough to be able to do that at this point. So mostly was kind of like pivoting to just more of the at-home content. And live streaming on Twitch and all that jazz. It was definitely a big change of just like, it was not a fun time at all, like just being stuck inside, or just being generally isolated from humans. But that being said, very, very fortunate to be, you know, in a job that is content creation, in that, you know, I wasn't at risk of necessarily losing my job. I wasn't you know, having to fight with a boss to be like, no, I don't want to come into the office because I don't want to get sick and, you know, whatever else. Like I thankfully had that sort of job security of more people are at home or working from home and can just kind of like watch on a side tab, watch your content while they're doing their work sort of thing. So definitely thankful for that sort of, again, job security with that. But it was definitely a big pivot to kind of like, all right, how are we making these same four walls interesting again today? Like, what are we going to play? What are we going to do? I guess with Go, it was very fortunate that like Niantic, I think, pivoted really, really quickly and, you know, made things like the remote raids, you know, got rid of the walking requirements for GBL, all that sort of stuff where it was like, hey, you can play from home. Here's research days. Here's this, like all very, very quickly, which I guess, you know, cut forward to today, sadly, probably because it was a lot of those things made so quickly, there were things that probably implemented that were too good, I guess, to then they've now been taken away, and that feeling that sting of, you know, remote raids being impacted a lot more now. But for the time where we were at in the world, like it was, you know, made the game still fun and playable. A lot of people came back to the game because they were like, oh, I can do my exercise outside playing Pokemon Go. Don't want to go to the gym, but you know, this is a safe alternative. So it was definitely like a lot of whiplash to go from so much just like in-person so many humans in one space, like these massive events all around the world, to just being like, all right, here's me talking at humans. I can see you guys typing in the chat, but like we're not having necessarily a conversation. Like, I guess thankfully as well, I guess as creators, a lot of us jumped on for, Among Us.
Yeah.
Perfect timing, like those sorts
too.
of things. Doing a lot of the shiny hunts and stuff through like the dungeons in Sword and Shield, like those sorts of things. At least there's still a lot of us to still do together as a community. Yeah. It was a weird time for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Was that when you started doing kind of like other games and variety content? I guess mainly on Twitch, right? I don't know if you made YouTube videos on it, but I remember like I like would tune into your stream a lot, and you would probably like Among Us or like Sword and Shield as well, or some other games too.
Yeah, so I definitely had like early days like on the channel, like just like a let's play through of like I think it was like Sun and Moon or something. But again, it was I think even before Go. So again, 10 views for a video sort of thing. So that's all like privated or whatever now on the channel. But like I had done some Twitch streaming as well, like as I was like early days of the Pokemon Go stuff on YouTube too. But I think as Go was doing a lot better and that was sort of taking off, I'd streamed a lot less on Twitch to almost like basically never streaming on Twitch. I'd still stream on YouTube for like com days and things like that. But they're still like very Pokemon Go focused. So then, when 2020 kind of happened, it was kind of like, well, the platform for streaming, like the interface and stuff is better on Twitch. Like the chat's easier to moderate on Twitch. Like it's just more like, I think it functions better. Like the culture of like getting live streaming, I think is still probably better on Twitch than on YouTube. I think if YouTube fixes certain things for like the functionality from like the moderation side of things, they'd probably be like equal. But yes, definitely started doing a lot more like variety stuff, streaming the main series games. And yeah, like just a different, Among Us, the Phasmophobia stuff, like whatever else was kind of the flavor. Started
Fall
off
Guys,
then.
maybe.
I resisted getting that for so long, and then ended up getting it, and I hated it. And then I like streamed like once. It was it frustrated me.
Yeah,
my input, I had like input delay or whatever it was, and it was like this input delay, and I was like, I couldn't get it to like, I don't know, I couldn't get it to like be seamless, and it just bothered me a lot.
Yeah, I played it as for like a charity thing with some teammates, and playing it as teammates was very frustrating for my teammates because I would never like finish the race. But
like, sorry guys.
Yeah. So of course, after I guess like a year, maybe 2 years of kind of COVID and lockdown stuff, things start opening up. Did you do any? I know you went to London for the World Championships, and then in Seattle actually as well for GoFest last year. Where did you go to other places during that first like 2022 year or?
In 2020, so my first trip like back out was to the Spain, like the Sevilla safari zone.
Okay, yes, yeah.
So that was pretty wild. It's like quite literally the furthest I could physically be from. Like it's if I was in Portugal, I'd be like the furthest I can be from home, basically. Yeah.
Wait, how long was the flight?
Too bloody long. It was like because it was multiple flights. It was like I can't remember if I drove to Sydney or if I flew to Brisbane, but either way, get to first airport in Australia. I think I flew to. I think it was flew to Brisbane, then Brisbane to somewhere in. I think it was Berlin in Germany. Then had to try and race to go and get a COVID test because to get into Spain you need to have had a COVID test within 24 hours. But by the time I would have gotten but by the time I would have gotten to Germany, the one if I had taken one in Australia would be out of date by the time I get to Spain. So I'm trying to find one to go get done in Germany, fly to another airport. I think I went to another stopover in Germany and then to Sevilla. And I got there and they didn't even check the bloody paperwork. And I was like, damn it. Like, I went and did all this work, like got all these things and like all this stress to not break the rules. And then they were like, yeah, come on in, mate. I'm like,
a lot of Europe was like that around that time.
Yeah. I think because, I think it was because as well, by the time I'd flown from Germany to Spain, it was like technically within the EU. So they were like, oh, you're within. So it's not like they weren't even treating it like it was Australia to Spain. Where I guess maybe if it had been like a international flight, maybe it would have mattered. I don't know. But I was just like, no one wants to check. All right, fine.
I'm not saying you should like
UK as well. Where they were like making it mandatory that you get a test on the way back, or they were like making 2 tests mandatory, right? And at the beginning of that summer, one of our mates went on holiday, and on the way back he was like, bruv, they didn't check the test. He was like, they just asked me to write the serial number of the test on the flight card, and that was it. And that entire summer, everyone we knew was using the serial number from that same test.
Like, let's just see what happens. Far out.
Well, speaking of loopholes too, I mean, I'm not saying you should have done this too, but were they checking the date of the test? Because if you're coming from Australia, like you're far in the future,
true.
For them, they're like, wait, this was like within 24 hours because you took it like it was already.
I just didn't want to have to mess around with like get stopped at an airport and turn back around, because that's what I was kind of thinking. I'm like, surely, like if I got on, I'm like, knowing my luck, it'll be like, no, you could have done this at this other airport or something ridiculous. Is what it is.
Well, luckily, I think that was my experience traveling internationally that first year too. Is like the pre-flight checklist was way stricter than whatever they did. Like half the time they didn't even check my like vaccine card the majority of the time either, which was
ours were like, I think for Australia it was like at check-in in Australia they were like, all right, get your QR code open and all that sort of jazz. Like for our side of things, they were very on it because Australia was being so strict with stuff, which again, we're an island, it makes sense. So I think on that side of things, it was like super. And then whenever I got to anywhere else, they were like, all right, welcome. Come on in. I'm like, damn it.
Like, especially the US, they did not care about anything. But okay, so you also went to London for Worlds. Obviously, there's a lot of content around that too, not even just like PvP and stuff. But did you play? I feel like I have a memory of you, not even just GBL, but I feel like I have a memory of you playing in some Sylph tournaments, especially like maybe during the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
Early. I mean, I did a lot of streaming GBL like during the pandemic, but it's like Sylph, when Sylph first started up, like our Newcastle area, we had like a Sylph little bunch of lads would all get together and do the Sylph tournaments.
That's awesome.
So I had competed in like the first 4 or so of those.
Oh, that's a lot.
And then kind of dropped off for a little bit, just got busy, and then I went to the I think just from doing those 4, I somehow qualified for the
regional.
They're regional basically. And so I was just like, oh, excuse me. And they're like, yeah, so like you want to come down to the Sydney for the regional? I'm like, sure, I'm gonna get the crap kicked out of me, but let's go. And it was just like 40 of us standing next to like I think it was next to like the town hall building, just in the dark, just battling away, like doing PvP tournament. Like, yeah. Because it wasn't official. It wasn't like the official Pokemon.
It was a Sylph tournament. So
it was
like,
just Sylph.
No, okay, I know, but I assumed that like.
Well, it costs money to rent these venues,
like,
Anicor. They're all volunteer based.
It's free outside.
Do you know? Okay, this is something that I was interested in because like obviously I started playing when the game first came out, but then I stopped and then started playing again during COVID, right? So in terms of PvP wise, I was never around during the early days of Sylph. And to hear that they attracted as many people as they did is like, it's very shocking for me. I'm like, a lot of these people just do not PvP anymore, innit? So like from your perspective, obviously you don't PvP as much anymore, but you played the first 4 Sylph tournaments. Like what like drew you initially, and then like what I don't want to say change, but do you know what I mean? Innit? Like,
yeah,
because
no, I mean, like I still play. I feel like I'm someone who's like one season on, one season off, where I'll just like I'll be super invested and then I just get busy and don't get invested. So I think what was it like originally it was kind of like, oh cool, there's this new feature, and early days as well, the community's super like we're still all getting together for raid days, we're still like making raid trains, like all that sort of thing, like everyone's still like showing up for everything. So when it was like, oh, let's do this battle thing, like yes, less people would show up for that compared to a raid day or a community day, but it was still like a fun thing. We would just go down to whichever, like I think we went down to like the bowling club sort of thing, so it's like a lawn bowls place where you go and play lawn bowls in Australia, but also you can get like a schnitzel and chippies and whatever else. So it just like they would, for our area, it was like, yeah, you can just use the event room for free, just please buy some bevies or have them feed. And we're like, yeah, cool, easy. So like we would just go and do that and then go and have lunch together, and it was kind of like a nice Saturday Sunday afternoon like thing to do. And then I guess as like the official GBL kind of ranking, like a battles system, I guess, became a thing. I think the first season I got to Ace and then just didn't do PvP for a while, and I don't know why. I guess because I was trying to think like the exact timeline, because GBL came out before pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it came out, I think like January / February. Actually, I think it was like I think it was right early February, because I remember I was moving apartments and I moved to my new apartment in February. I was like, my background's a mess.
It's pretty close,
still,
I guess.
To make my first GBL video.
Yeah. Okay, this was pretty close. Yeah, because I played that first season, and then I don't know, maybe it was just like, I think, unfortunately, which has been since GBL came out, unless you are dedicated to like your channel is GBL, typically if you do a PvP video on a just standard Pokemon Go channel, it just purely doesn't perform as well, which sucks, because it's like you could make like a really fun video and it might not all be around just battling or whatever else, but for whatever reason it just doesn't get that crossover or engagement. I still don't know exactly like what or why that is, except for people that just like, oh yeah, I don't really like PvP, and therefore don't even want to watch it or listen to commentary or whatever else around it. So I guess because it wasn't part of like my weekly videos that I'm doing, it just kind of dropped off for me. And then what was it, season before last, like the season in the lead up to Yokohama Worlds, I was actually like trying to secretly just like get good and just rock up and be like, hey guys, check this out, like just as a joke, and be like, haha, like how did Zoe make it to legend? I was just saying stupid like that, because it'd be like, who would expect, like she never talks about that, like what? I thought it would be funny. Didn't quite get there. And then with Worlds, with GoFest, I just ran out of time to make the push. Got close to veteran, but that was as far as I got. And then last season, which is crazy to say, there's even been a whole season in between since Worlds to now. Like I just was busy. Just had like life stuff going on, work stuff, whatever else, and I just kind of like didn't battle. And then this season, it's like, well, I'm back in. Let's go. What's the spice? Let's do it again.
Do you think like from a viewer perspective, because again, like Caleb was saying, you've been to both Worlds. When you're making videos around, let's say like Worlds or the regionals, which I guess we'll touch on in a bit, because obviously you was at Brisbane. Do you find that there's much interest there from your like viewer base because it's Worlds, or are they generally just interested in the stuff around Worlds? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
as opposed to the actual like PvP elements of it.
It's hard because it's like I feel like it's so intertwined for some things, where even a lot of people that play Pokemon Go wouldn't even know what's a Worlds, like what does that mean, sort of thing, where it's like it's if you're a Pokemon person, you probably know what it is. But maybe if Go is your first ever introduction to Pokemon, like how would you really know what that is, except for like, oh, once a year Pokemon gets a funny costume. in Pokemon Go.
True.
There's nothing necessarily in the game that's like, hey, here, go watch the official live stream. Or if you don't want to go and read the blog post about the event, you might not then go down that rabbit hole of like finding what it is, why it is, sort of thing. I think definitely people are like seeing the spectacle of it, like seeing all the cool things that are set up, like the like, I guess the decorations essentially of like how cool this space is set up to be like, we're all here for this big thing. Like, look how there's a giant Pikachu, like these things that look cool. Or like, you know, like, oh, how cool is that? Like that merch or that shirt or whatever it is. And then I think as like a whole package, it's super interesting of like, oh, those people are competing for this, Go's battlers are doing this. Like there's all these elements. But I think if it was just solely focused around just the PvP aspect, again, unless you were a PvP channel or a connoisseur consumer of PvP, like if I did just a video on PvP, it probably wouldn't have the same legs, sadly. Again, even if it was like, I feel like done in a way, I've been like over the last couple of weeks, like I really want to try and actually sit down and look at like bridging that gap for casual and PvP content, because it's like now that I've been trying to like get good again, it's like, okay, well, how do I like, it's fun, like PvP is fun, can be very fun. How do I kind of bridge that, like either get people interested in it or at least get someone who doesn't want to do it themselves still watch a fun video that happens to have PvP in it, sort of thing. So I kind of want to figure that out, because I think in terms of longevity as well, like it is going to be a massive component. Like Go is featured at Worlds. People are winning a trip to the other side of the globe to go and compete and battle and win a butt ton of prize money. Like, you know, it's legitimate. But I think there's still like some sort of communication breakdown of like the general audience, I guess, maybe still not quite knowing it or fully getting it, or maybe they just don't care, and that's fine too. But yeah, I feel like there's still something missing there.
I think also like especially well, what were you saying?
I was going to say there's in-game notifications about, you know, EUICs coming up this weekend 4 days after the weekend.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
Well, we had I think it was the first Melbourne one had an actual in-game notification, and it had like the highest registration, and they've just never done it again. And it's like, it was the first one. It wasn't 5 days afterwards, thankfully, but it was like it was in the lead up, and people actually went and signed up because of it. Like we met so many people that you just like, oh, do you PvP person? Like, no, like literally just wanted to come and try out. And it's like, hell yeah. Like, but then they've just never done an in-game notification again. And I'm like, why? Like people wouldn't even know, like for the Brisbane event, I'm messaging Debbie being like, what's the date for that again? She's like, oh, it's in like I better book a flight. Like, oh crap. Like I better get on that. But it's like, there's nothing even to tell you, like, hey Aussies, hey wherever, whatever country, like this is coming up in game. Yeah.
Right. I know Niantic did a push notification for, it was the Indianapolis regional. It was the first televised or first broadcasted regional after EUIC. So essentially the second one that people could watch online. And they did a push notification, and there was hundreds, maybe thousands of people watching right off the bat.
Yeah.
And but then they just kind of like didn't really continue to do those push notifications. I think I can't remember, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they might have done it for Yokohama, but it's hard to say.
I feel like if they did one for Yokohama, it probably would have been tied in with like the in-game event as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they could definitely. I think Niantic could definitely tap into their in-game notifications a lot more.
Yes,
I'm sure it's a resource. I'm sure it takes approval, like, and there's some red tape that they had to go through ahead of time. But I think it's definitely worth it. I know there's people from Niantic that listen to this podcast, so that's just my
hey
wish.
You
hey,
talk to the notification guy or gal or whoever.
If you are the notification guy,
yeah.
You know, get
like, wait a second, my automatic script isn't working. What?
You're gonna get a great performance evaluation from your boss if you have keep.
We had how many signups for this tournament?
Imagine this guy has been doing notifications literally for 2-3 years, just hasn't realized they haven't been sending.
Well, I mean, it should, but it shouldn't.
I finally got that I see what it said.
Someone in Brisbane was like, I decided to show up on the Sunday. They're like, they saw my tweet that I had tweeted out, I think a few days in the lead up. They saw it on the Saturday night. And they were like, it's a 2-day thing. I'm going to show up. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I had met them at the Melbourne event, like the first one. But they were like, didn't even know it was on. And I'm like, the PvP people shouldn't be finding out about it, or anyone, Pokemon Go people shouldn't be finding out about it from a tweet from some random creator. Like 3 days after they've tweeted it.
Your tweets are informative though, especially
like just by accident though. If they weren't they should know this 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance in the game. Like that would do numbers for getting people interested, because they didn't compete, but they were like, I'm just going to come and do a side event, and oh my god, I got a shiny within 10 minutes of being here, and the spawns were great, like the in-game bonuses were great, and it's like they're going to tell people about that. Like that's great. If you could live 20-30 minutes away, and it would have been worth people's time to like go in for the weekend just to play for the spawns, even if they didn't go into go and watch regionals or whatever else. I'm like, oh, what's that? I don't really get it. Fine. But like they could still have a fun time with the event in Go, being in that area. Like, yeah.
Wait, so you went to Brisbane wasn't your first regional. You went to a Melbourne regional. Was this in 2022 or
whichever one was the exact first ever Aussie one? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first Melbourne one, when we were in like the town hall building in like the court chambers in like a back office basically for the Pokemon Go stuff. It was so scuffed. It was like a little whiteboard with Pokemon Go and like an arrow like pointing up the stairs of like, go on kids, go and sit at the kids table. It was just like
what's
no
mad
space
about that
for
is
us.
because like I'm sure it wasn't just the Pokemon Go event. It was also TCG and VGC.
Yeah, it was everything. Yeah.
Where's the budget? Yeah, how are they sticking TCG players in the back of a city?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what is going on?
Did you compete in that one too, or did you just kind of spectate?
No, so I only spectated that one because initially there was only like 10 spaces to register, and we had to do this like massive like, hello Niantic, like, are you crazy? Like you need to make more spaces. It was like this whole weeks long thing of like rattling the cage, being like, you need to make more spaces because this isn't feasible. Like people have, you've announced the dates, people have booked flights, like some dude's flying from New Zealand to this, and you've made 10 spots, and like half
they
of
were
the
only
community.
they were planning to only
it was like
have
12
10 people play.
I do remember this because they did the same thing for Latin America too. I think it was like Latin America. It was like 24 spaces or 12 spaces.
Yes.
For like entire Latin America, countries. Yeah.
So we were like basically rattling the gates up until like it was, okay, we've added some more spots. And so I was like, I'm not touching any of those. Like the people that have been practicing, I'm like, that's you. Like probably on the day I could have still like I think there was still technically a couple of no-shows or whatever else. But I was like, I'm not touching that. Like I would rather be here and support the people that have like been practicing and working their buns off to compete than to like take someone's spot, because it was so close to that, like I don't know if they're going to change their mind about this 10 spots thing. I'm just going to observe and help and hype up the PvP people.
So wild.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's
but now that you
insane.
say that, it's like I made flashbacks to that. I mean, I will say too, like, because Go was new into the official competitive scene, so I think maybe for space purposes, and they just underestimated. Yeah, I know, but I will say
because also
they've
like
changed that around.
That, like they know more than 10 people are going to show up regardless, right? So it's like, I don't know if that's a space thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
because they're there.
They're in an event. Yeah, well, I was just saying the space because they have to allocate space for VGC and TCG as well, right? So I understand why they might get priority. I mean, they get more spots for just these tournaments too, which is fine because Go doesn't usually hit the cap anyway. But yeah, they'll get like hundreds of spots at a lot of these.
Yeah,
but
it's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
Okay, I'm sure we could find like a bigger space that's cheaper, like in a still accessible area sort of thing. Like, maybe we can make it work. Yeah.
So how was your kind of first, was this your first Worlds experience 2022 in London? Just like Pokemon Worlds, or did you attend? I know there's a
Worlds,
2019 one too in DC, Washington DC.
Yeah. No, so the Worlds London was my first ever Worlds, but I had been to a regionals in Sydney in like 2017, 2018. I don't even know. It was like teeny tiny. It was pre-go. It was small, and just kind of like went to go and see like what's the go sort of thing. But yeah, so Worlds was my first proper like big one.
Yeah. How was that experience for you?
It was wild. It was really cool. Like Worlds London was like, wow. Like it was immaculately like decorated, themed. All of the like activities and stuff, little photo ops, like all of the whole space was really well curated. Like the raids were fun. The in-game stuff for Go was fun. Everyone was like in a fantastic mood. It was I feel like it was a pretty good location for it. I don't know if it was like an awkward place to get to if you were in, if you were someone who like lives in England or whatever else. But it was fun. Like it was insanely fun. Loved it. Had an absolute blast. I was out of my gourd, like with the time zone difference, because I did the direct like 24-hour flight. We like stopped to refuel for like an hour and just kept going, sort of thing. So like I landed the morning of like the Thursday or something, and it was like, all right, time to be awake and not fall asleep. Let's go. Like let's go get the prep. We got to go to the media room. We got to do this. And I was just like,
I think that's what I first ran into. Actually, was I maybe didn't bump into you in Seattle, because Seattle Go Fest was second before that, but I don't know if we ran each other. But I think that like
was our first time, because I remember I met you and Speediest and
Butters probably
someone else. I think at like the same, because I dropped my stuff at the hotel and like ran to the media room and then ran back to check in and actually have a shower, because I was like, I have been on a plane.
I remember that.
And I think after that it was like, I'm back. Like, hello, nice to meet everyone. Like I have bathed. Like I'm fit for human consumption now. Like that was exhausting but so much fun. It
was the raids were great too. It was Zacian and Zamazenta, which was the last time we've had them in raids.
Yes, it was, because
I did not take advantage of that. I didn't even realize that there were raids.
You barely catch Pokemon in general.
The Sunday. I know. Yeah.
And of course, a socializer.
It's difficult. Do you know what I did take advantage of though? Yeah. So obviously, you were saying that there was like a lot of activities, and they had the Go scavenger hunt, right? And one of the items on the Go scavenger hunt was you had to do a side event. Yeah. So there were so many people who were doing side events just because they had to do it for this thing. Yeah. Meanwhile, me, my brother, and a couple of our mates, we were just farming these side events, bro. Because like you got prize wall, and then you had the prize card on the prize wall.
Yeah.
I should have come and found you to be like, help me get this prize card. I'm running out of time. I didn't get a chance to do any side events.
You were they like battling side events? Was that what it was?
Yeah, they were battling side events.
And you were battling people that just like didn't know what they're doing, right? So you're just stopping. Oh wow.
Do you know what? I can't lie.
Like you and your brother be like, yo, you go sign up for this one. We don't want to be in the same group, right?
Yeah, we weren't going to be in the same
Yeah, no friendly fire, right?
I think
how many kids did you make cry that weekend?
There was two matches which were quite funny. One match which was against this Czech player, and I recognized him, but he didn't recognize me. So for the whole thing, I was playing as if I was like, just new to PvP. and then like, game 3, it came down to like
it went to a game 3. What?
No, because I think, I mean, he's a good player,
Okay.
And so game 3, it went to I think his win condition was like making a catch against my Azu or something like that, and I knew he was going to do it. So I was just like standing there waiting there, and he went for the catch, and I was like, okay, and afterwards I was like, really good game. But then there was another
you told him this the first time to really be confused.
It's
my first time I ever won a game.
And then there was another one of my mates who was actually, I saw him farming side events as well, and then he was getting distributed the points, and he didn't get the first place amount of points. And I was like, bro, what happened? Yeah. And I see who's sitting opposite him. It's this some Japanese guy, and he was like, yeah, I lost to him. I was like, oh, mad. So I said hello to the Japanese guy. I was like, hey, man, who are you? Yeah. He was like, oh, yeah, I just qualified for Worlds. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So you got played. And that to be
was that the guy that made that like he like qualified the few days before sort of thing, like that guy, or was that London? There was like someone who like did the final, like those last chance qualifiers, or.
Well, he definitely didn't.
No. That would have been a mad commitment.
But still, is like
Japan for that.
Yeah.
But you know what the thing is because the Japanese
from Japan all the way to London, though, right?
Yeah, the Japanese championships, they weren't very well televised, so we didn't really know who qualified properly. Do you know what I mean? You know, until they actually sort of showed up on the day. So nobody had a clue.
Well, Japanese people are also pretty private too, because every time we see on like X or Twitter, they have selfies.
Oh yeah, they put the emojis on.
They put emojis.
Yeah.
Well, I saw one because they're taking a picture with like Michael Staranko or whatever, right? And he was meeting greet. And everyone has like emojis and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one guy,
and just him.
I was like, wait, this guy, he doesn't have emoji. Like it's actually his face. I look at the picture carefully, and I realize he's wearing sunglasses. I look carefully at the picture. The sunglasses are fake. Like he threw out a sunglass emoji over his face. Yeah. So the rest of the face you can see, but he still threw out an emoji. It just was a subtle one that you couldn't tell at first. I looked at it, I was like, wait, like the glasses are like blending into his ear. Like, wait, what? It's like not actually in his head. Yeah.
That's wild. I love it.
Great. So, and then there was, of course, Worlds in Yokohama, Japan. I assume you probably been to Japan prior. How many times have you been to Japan? You might be like more
too many. Several. A lot.
Do you know more than 2 words like
yes, I used to be like very I used to be like very good. I like studied in high school and stuff, and then like I didn't use it for 3 years, so then lost 90% of it. So ripperoni to that. But I know enough to like not get lost, to get fed, and to like have a generally good, I can make a couple of jokes, but not enough to have like a good, meaningful, like, how has your day been today? Like I can't get that level, sadly. Or I just, haven't re-practiced sort of thing. But I know enough to not die in Japan. So
nice. Yeah, first time Worlds ever in Japan too, which was
I didn't realize that that they'd never done a Worlds.
I didn't either. Yeah, because I like you, like I didn't really follow Worlds or any of the competitive stuff before before Go was starting doing it, because I was talking to Gabby, the VGC caster. She's like, they've only hosted in North
Gabby's
America,
lovely.
pretty much the US. Yeah. No, she's great. OG for sure. She's like, they pretty much only hosted in the United States except for one time in Canada before London. I was like, what?
That's wild.
Yeah. So Hawaii, I mean, a little bit more remote, but still in the United States. So they've done it in Hawaii a couple of times. So
technicality.
So, but you didn't have any visa issues, right? Going as like a creator going to Japan?
No.
Okay, I know. Someone said
I heard that someone had weird. Yeah.
Oh, all the casters did. Yeah, we all did.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
So my trip was delayed by like a whole week. Yeah, which is a little unfortunate.
Oh, that's so wild.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, so it's just certain. I think it's certain countries you need. Well, actually, when I went to Australia last year for OCIC, we needed work visas for that too. But I think Japan's great. They're very ahead of their time, but some of their stuff is a little antiquated.
Yeah.
Like their visa process is like all like paper form and everything. Australia's like you just fill up stuff online like 2 months in advance, and like it was good to go.
It's still so interesting though, because it's like you're technically not getting paid in that country, so then why do you need?
Yes,
but I don't know.
They thought of every loophole possible. Like, It's like, well, we're like, okay, just don't pay us then, and just pay us like at our next work
donation
later, or something, right? Or like,
wouldn't you just make them as contractors, or like make them contractors, and then
we are contracted
invoice
too.
afterwards. Like I don't know. That's odd.
It was super. Well, the crazy part is it was just the casters. the production crew, the staff, the directors, like everyone that works at PBCI, all of them, they didn't need work visas to my knowledge. It was just the casters. It was like a very specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were
Specific
like,
industry
what
sort
if they're
of
not?
technicality.
Yeah. What if they're not on camera, right? Like, what if it's just like voices, or like we have little Muppets or them talking, and like even that was like a no go. Like they tried really hard to think of every
USA
loophole.
server and then back into like a glow.
So
that's funny.
It was the only option for us to cast is like we would have to cast remotely, like at home, which would we just miss out all the Japan the experience. But two, like I'd be waking up at like 3 a.m. to like work for like 8 hours and go to sleep and do it like in my home setup with like a green screen. It would have been
definitely not. I'm glad it all worked out though, and you got there.
Yeah, no, it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was Yokohama for you too? I mean, especially as I mean, obviously Japan is known for Pokemon Go heaven essentially, but this is like that plus like all the events, right? Which is kind of wild. And there was a Go Fest too, which I assume you went to, the Osaka Go Fest.
Yes, I nearly spewed at Osaka Go Fest. It was so hot. It was just like filthy hot. The Picari sweat coming in clutch to just like revive me at midday or whatever. I was just like, I think I might be violently ill soon. I'm like, I'm gonna go find a vending machine. like, I feel alive again. Let's go. Let's not go too hard, but like, let's just go and stand in the shade and keep playing. But no, it was great. But I just like, why do they keep doing Go events in August in Japan? Like, stop. Like just any other time, any other month, other month. It's the humidity. It's so not. Did you go to Yokohama?
I was there, and admittedly I didn't make it to the park, but it was only because like I don't know, it was so far away from everything else.
Yeah, the park was so much more intense.
Stuff,
I think it's because like the concrete and like the.
Maybe that would have.
I don't know. You're the only person I ever heard say they
Yokohama
enjoy
wasn't that
the
bad.
summer
like,
heat in Japan. Of course.
The Yokohama, at least, it had started to cool down by that week. Like the Yokohama week was like, okay, we're a bit better. But like Osaka was filthy hot. I think it's just the humidity
the
plus.
worst thing was that your phone slows down.
Yes,
that's
annoying.
I had a phone.
The worst thing isn't how sweaty you are all at all points of time.
I don't know. I was feeling okay,
like,
but again, I was in the parks.
You're the minority here, Anicor. I've never heard anyone say like the Japan summer heat was okay.
It's just the humidity plus the heat, because it's like we'll have the same temperature in Australia, but at least there's always like an ocean breeze. Like it's a bit like I guess drier, whereas like the humidity just slaps a whole nother level that I think if you're not conditioned to it. Like, I guess maybe like humidity wise, obviously the UK is not going to get as hot, but you have the humidity of like the wetness in the air of like maybe you're more conditioned to surviving slightly humidity better. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of wetness in the air, isn't it? So,
yeah. But just like Japan kicks the crap out of me for the weather. It was fun though. Like Yokohama was amazing. Like it was so much fun. Again, like I feel like, especially even just looking at photos of previous worlds, I think like from London, when they just went gangbusters on like the decorations, the theming, the integrating different events, like, and Yokohama as well, just kind of continued that. I think they're nailing it. Like, yes, thumbs up, more of that. Like it's fun if you're a competitor, even if you're not competing, if you're just spectating. Like there's so much to see and do.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly fun. Yeah,
the venue is great even inside too, with all the little
bruv. The flipping grass.
The it was comfy. Yeah.
Have you never seen fake grass before, Anicor?
Nah, I have, but like I've never chilled on it like with that.
Yeah, I know.
It was some premium fake grass. It was comfy. I was like, I don't want to sit on this. You're gonna get itchy legs, and I was like, this is soft as. Like, what? What's going on?
Yeah. And then the TVs up there. It was it was great. Yeah, Championship Sunday was really good.
Yeah, we'll see how Hawaii looks too. I think my only concern, but I guess the same thing with Japan too, is like space limitation, right? Because Hawaii's not like the biggest land.
But I feel like Japan would probably be the biggest issue with space limitation, because there's so many casual Pokemon fans who want to turn up for Worlds compared to like other countries.
Yeah, I guess for Hawaii, like you have to go to the destination sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Curious,
now
yeah.
they mention it, at Osaka Go Fest, I was walking around and my friend bumped into someone with like this like plushie thing or whatever. It was like a very specific plushie for like some specific anime or something. And like, oh, it's like really cute, whatever, right? It was someone that's Japanese, I assume, was the person. And then literally a week later, she bumps into the same person. She was like, "Wait, that's a really cute plushie." And then they were like, "Wait, well, yeah, Osaka a week ago." She's like, "Yeah, yeah." I was, and like, it turns out like she doesn't even like compete and Go or any of the games. She just loves Pokemon, wants to spectate and stuff too. But it
That's
was just funny
cool.
because she had the same exact plushie. Yeah.
That's so cute.
But my friend completely dyed her hair too in that week span. So like, she didn't recognize
Change
her
the
at
look,
first.
yeah.
Yeah, I just like kind of. I was like, "Wait, this is the same person." um, but
That's
yeah,
wild.
what a time. Okay, so and then you went to Brisbane as well. Fast forward just a few
Yeah.
months later, and competed as well. And I think your partner competed too, right?
Competed.
I think
Yeah.
I heard your team. So I know you dropped a YouTube video covering the tournament from your like perspective. I favored it. I haven't had a chance to like watch it yet. But I was listening to other podcasts and BTW podcast. They were saying like the team you brought to was like decently meta as well too. It's like a
I
solid
mean,
team,
I was
right?
trying to go for a meme team, and then Debbie and Steve were like, "You probably should have something that can actually battle." And I'm like, "But do I?" But like, I literally did zero practice. I didn't do a single practice match. I was like, I'm here to have a good time, fill up the numbers. Like, you know, it turns out, beneficially that we pushed the numbers over for top 16 getting points technically. So me and Alan were like exactly on the cusp to make that happen. So I was like, look, I did my part. That's all. But I think for Melbourne, I will actually like
for getting the points.
Steal those points
too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I think for Melbourne, I will make a team and like and do it proper, because I was like, it was kind of fun. I should actually, put in the effort. So I just sat down. It's like, here's my team sheet, and I'm just like, okay. I'm not even gonna. I'm like, I don't even. I think for me, definitely, like, I think I'll have to do is like get good at the, doing the little matrix thing for figuring out like the show 6 bring 3 sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm perfectly fine for just like you're thrown in with 3 random things, survive or don't, that sort of format. Whereas like if I'm sitting down, especially with the Brisbane team, I just hadn't even used any of it. It was like, oh, here's a Clodsire that I caught on Com Day. Should I evolve it? Yeah, okay, I'll use that. I hadn't even used it in a single thing, so I don't even know what hits it can take, what it can't, sort of thing.
It's pretty thick though. It could take.
It is so thick. I was like, I'm still not shielded. I'm like having my practice rounds while I'm doing the official battles. I'm like, let's see if this can take the hit. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm still in this.
Not bad.
So yeah, still got like a win sort of thing, like not That's the good. Whole set, but Again, I was like, I didn't practice for this. I'm not going to take someone else's spot. Like, I mean, I had the mentality of it was the Melbourne all over again. I'm like, what if it's another Melbourne and there's only limited? I'm like, just get the people that want to get to the place they need to be, sort of thing. Like, again, I'm here to have fun and, support.
I think now the cap's like 128, I think, at least for all of
there's like a lot.
Australia, I can't lie. Because the thing is none of the Australian events have broken 64 yet. So, I don't know if some organizers are making a high cap, and then a couple weeks later they'll take some of the Go slots that haven't been used up and then distribute on a second wave to like TCG and VGC in it. So it's a possibility maybe they do that, but
sign up early is the best course of action if you're a Go player. But that's
hopefully Melbourne we see break 64, because I don't know.
Anyone listening, sign up for Melbourne. Let's go.
Literally, all you Melbourne, like I'd say you can't stay with me, but
this man doesn't have a couch in the back where you can sleeping on that.
Even if I was going to invite you, it's very difficult.
Bring a sleeping bag. Everyone's staying at Anicor's place.
It's a tricky one. But no, I feel really good about this season in general, right? Because again, last season was the first full season. The first full season. Brisbane was still super early on, so it was a bit a bit too early for. Well, it was the first weekend, right? It was literally the very first weekend of the. Was it the first weekend?
Was it?
No. Sorry,
No, the
it
season
was like
changed.
the first weekend
Like
of
the
the
season changed
season.
after.
Yeah.
But it was still relatively early on, and I think obviously OCIC got people like quite hyped, and then the Sydney numbers were actually relatively decent. Perth always seems to be a bit difficult because it's just
it's like very
it's so far away.
Yeah. So that I think there's just no hope for anyway. But there's only 2 more regionals left, and it is Perth and Melbourne. So Melbourne's obviously the most
championship
accessible
points
one.
too. You gotta go to them.
Yeah,
if you want to shot.
Yeah, maybe there'll be more. I could totally see more people maybe going to a Perth one if it is now points. Well, because it is now points based. Like, especially, I guess Perth is easier to get to if you're from like, and I guess like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, like those sorts of areas as well. It's not that long of a flight to get to Perth. Oh, really? Even if they're competing in another region?
Yeah. They've
okay.
Yeah, which is actually interesting because I know there's.
So then, can they even compete?
They have to compete in their own
region,
like their own qualifiers. Yeah. So actually, BJ, he entered one of the regionals early on in the year, right?
Yeah.
Or like he entered one of the ones last season, and he just missed out on top 16. Or like he just missed out on top
like
car.
that.
I think he lost in like the winners finals or something like that. But he's not getting anything for it. Maybe he got some money.
Well, he gets points. The money, maybe some money. I don't think you can get money for top 16.
But I think he doesn't get the points because they specified they were like players from those countries have to compete in their own qualifiers and don't get given points.
It's
right. Okay.
So the best way to explain it, Zoe, is TPCI. So the Pokemon Company International runs like the international tournaments, worlds, and then like all the tournaments in North America, South America, Australia, Oceania, I should specify, and that's in Europe. But the rest of the tournaments, like in the Asian countries, TPC runs it, the Pokemon Company in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. And then outside of Japan, because they have their own, like their qualification is like just for Japan. They have a very specific one just for Japan.
Right.
And then all the other countries or regions in Asia, they have like an online tournament essentially on their own formats.
Right. Oh my god, that's like so. Because it's like you always see people that are traveling for regionals where it's like, where are you from? They're like, I'm from France. I'm lovely to like, cool, nice to meet you. So like, obviously they can cross over points, but
we could. So if you want to go to like LA for regional, you can get points too. Yeah.
Right, but then specific. Okay, well, Ripperoni to Malaysia, Singapore, etc. Never mind. It would be very convenient. Like at least Perth would have been closer
tough too because they have so many players and only 2 qualify every year.
Are you joking?
Yeah, so they have one tournament a year and for each of these countries, and the only top 2 make it. So like it's like do or die moment, right? Like you got.
All right, we need to solve that. We need to sort that out. Like
honestly, I've actually been like chatting to some people this season, seeing if there's anything that can be changed.
It might be different
what
too.
I
understand.
Know.
Yeah. I mean,
so
they haven't even announced a format for that.
Massive player base.
Yeah. So I think the first season, I reckon that the Asian qualifiers were like relatively rushed. And I think, to be honest, most of the things in the first season were relatively rushed anyway, right? But then last season, they had qualifiers for, different countries and regions. But I believe they based the amount of qualifications on the amount of active Pokemon Go players in the region. So what was interesting is that like Thailand, for example, only had 30 people enter the qualifiers, but had 2 qualification slots. India had 170 people enter the qualifiers, but also 2 qualification slots. But then I'm guessing that
overall player base sort of
thing. Not necessarily
but the actual
PvP, just general Pokemon Go player base. So I think that's what they were basing on. And like, for example, South Korea had 6 qualification slots. And I don't know, I imagine Pokemon Go is probably quite
they had 6?
popular. They had 6, 6.
I just thought most of the countries in Asia just did the standard like first and second place auto qualifies to Worlds, except for with the exception of Japan and maybe Korea, I guess.
So Korea got 6. And then APAC, which was a combination of, I think, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore. They also got 6 as well. And then everyone else got 2.
That system's all over the place.
Yeah, it honestly is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It can definitely be adjusted.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. When's the Melbourne regional?
February.
Beginning of February. Yeah.
Early first weekend, I think. Yeah.
That'll be all right.
It'll sneak up before we know it. I'll bring my Dedenne and prove that it's not irrelevant. So,
do you know what? Could potentially be relevant.
Sadly, its new move is not,
new move. No.
I just like using it. My PvP thing is I don't want to use stuff that I don't like. Metacham brings me no joy. I don't want to use a Metacham. It's not
that good anymore anyway,
is cute and it slaps, so I want to use that. It's probably my favorite electric type for sure. But I want to use Pokemon that I like looking at and using and that are fun to use.
Do you know what though?
And if they end up being functional, that's even better. You play better because you enjoy it.
In a sense where you're also more willing to learn.
You got the most basic meta team.
But it was not basic meta. Yeah, there was some.
It was so basic.
There was a Mandibuzz. Yeah.
No, that's the second best flyer.
Mandibuzz is fun.
There was. You see my team for this week is interesting. I think if you're using picks that you like, then you're more willing to actually learn them well. And I think generally that's a very big part of the game is actually learning what your Pokemon can do. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're just taking a straight meta team, you don't actually know what they do. It can be the best team out there. You're not going to perform with it. Do you know what I mean? Because you just don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Even something like Hypno, it bothers me so much. I'm it's so slow. This little attack, and it's it's excellent. It is good. It does its role, especially the flavor cups and whatever else. But it's it bothers me so much that it's so slow. I'm just stop, go away. I would never. Dedenne obliterates Talonflame. Happy days. I'm good.
Skarmory's also number 1 in the rankings. Some people can. Dedenne also beats Skarmory, so.
Oh, good. Good.
I think Dedenne's in a decent spot. No,
Skarmory's shot back up recently. After 5 days ago.
Let's go.
Which is
back in. We're back in.
We didn't discuss this last episode because obviously last episode
we didn't know what it was.
We weren't aware of Steel Wing and what that would do. And literally, so everyone had this whole sort of snapshot of the meta beforehand where they were like, oh, this is changing, this is probably what things are going to shake out to be. And Steel Wing was the one where they didn't say how much energy generation would increase, and I think that really had the biggest impact because Skarmory became a top meta threat. And just in general, I guess for the listeners, obviously a lot of you lot are going to be aware of this. Do you all think that it was a positive or negative? Because I think initially it was seen to be a bit of a negative. So the thing is, Skarmory's typing, Steel and Flying, is a really, really good typing. It's only got 2 weaknesses. It's got loads of resistances, but it also has no coverage, right? So it gets walled off by electric types. It gets walled off by steel types. Personally, I feel like that lends to... it lends to a meta where if you're not in a good matchup, then there's nothing you can do, right? And then that's what lends to RPS metas. And Lantern was untouched, and Lantern is the biggest check to Skarmory. And so if Skarmory's so good, Lantern's so good, and neither of them have coverage for, the Pokemon that counter them. But I'm not going to lie, I don't think it's looking that bad. I don't think I don't know what your opinion is, Caleb, but I don't think it's looking that bad. I think there's some
Bastion's
decent
back, man. Bastion never looks so good. Destroying people with Bastion. It's not even. It's so good.
What's cute that beats Bastion? What's cute that we can use against Bastion?
It's
cute's subjective.
Clodsire. If you think Clodsire's cute,
Clodsire's cute.
Whiscash, that's pretty cute.
Little moustache.
Very cute. Funny look.
Okay, nah. No.
My Marshall got
I'll
some
stick
weird
with the
eyes.
clothing.
Yeah.
He just looks a bit grumpy.
You like Gastrodon?
Yeah, but
Gastrodon
I think...
Oh, I love Gastrodon. Oh my god. Wait, Gastrodon's in? Let's go, boys.
It did get a slight buff.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as
am I celebrating? Am I not?
Well, if you like Gastrodon, you could celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, we're celebrating. Let's go. Gastrodon's in. It has the best cry of any Pokemon, full stop. Let's do it.
Did you have a conversation with Lou about
Gastrodon, this? No, have I?
Do you know the EU caster Lou the Pikachu?
I don't know if we've met. I don't know.
She's like red hair.
Anyway, possibly
she's also a big Gastrodon fan.
Yeah, she's been a caster for VGC for years on like the big stages, on Worlds and stuff. And she started casting for Go on top of it recently too. But she's based in Europe. But in all likelihood, I don't know. But she'll probably be at Worlds. So, but she loves Gash. Like, it's her favorite Pokemon.
Shake her hand and say congratulations on picking the best Pokemon with the best cry. Such a good sound. If you haven't listened to it, everyone should open up Pokemon Go and just put the volume on just for that maximum volume and just tap on a Gastrodon. It's obscene.
I'll have Anicor listen to it and then have him mimic it for the next episode.
Bro, I've never put volume on for Pokemon Go. I'm not gonna lie.
Do it just for that one thing. It'll change your whole night.
I used to play with the volume full on, like
2016.
Because I just walk around like, feeling it, right? And the music. And I used to work on a college campus, right? So like, there's students that like, I oversee and stuff.
Do you not have any shame?
There goes our director, like, catching. Wait, what?
Catching
what?
Do you not have any shame? You're like walking about.
Back then, I was feeling great, right? Everyone's playing Pokemon Go, and then
them old people are just like,
people stop playing it as like around like Halloween, like
playing your music on the bus.
And that's why I turned the music down. I turned the music off when people stop playing. But then like also like it'd be weird when like I'm like hang out with friends and I connect my phone to my car Bluetooth and it's playing the Pokemon sound
maximum volume.
Like what is that? I was like, at a certain point,
nothing.
It is.
That's excellent.
Yeah, but actually that actually kind of leads to my next question for you. We're at what? How many years has it been? I guess like year 7 or so of Pokemon Go coming out, right? So obviously it's been around for quite a while, and it's probably the longest game I've personally ever played, consistently too. What are your thoughts on kind of like the future of the game too? I know something I really appreciate about your content is your honesty too, and like you're not really sugarcoating stuff. Like you had a great interview with Michael, which actually inspired us to have an interview with Michael on our podcast too, shortly after.
Nice.
But then, I remember one specific video was right after like the Niantic layoffs, right? Kind of like a somber moment.
Yeah.
And you kind of even tweeted about, like that because I think it was like right after their anniversary or right during.
It was the same week. It was like a few days just before, and I'm just like, it was the one with like the little party popper. I was I'm like, hey guys, let's enjoy the 7th anniversary. And it's like we've laid off 400 people. I'm like, what? Like what? Like it was just such a like that sucks. And like it just I'm not feeling good. Like it doesn't make you like, let's go and play some Pokemons. It's like there's like 200 plus people that are literally like their whole world has just been thrown upside down. Like
I'm sure you knew some of them too, because I was talking to one of them literally like I think the day before he got laid off, and then literally the next day he was gone, right? And it was I was literally DMing him about some like Niantic like collaboration thing I was gonna be doing with them, and he was like my point of contact. I was like, after that I was like, who do I write? Who do I?
What am I supposed to message that? It's honestly, it's like it was wild. Where I'm just like, they've just been like bloop, obliterated from. Like, oh, okay. Well, then what about someone like you kind of like doing the whole like, is it overstepping to like ask like, hey, are you good? Like, did you get? You don't want to like. It's like probably a bad day for you if you did, and probably still a bad day if you didn't because your coworkers would be. So I'm like, I'm just gonna like wait and see like. Who, but it was pretty wild. Yeah.
It's like the Thanos snap. Like, did you survive the 50% thing?
Honestly, and I'm like going through all the like the tweets and trying to see like faces of anyone that I know, sort of thing. And it's like, it's especially brutal when it's like, you know, that they are someone who's doing so much work, like, or at least I think or believe that they are, like that they are a hard worker and or are working on something that's like interesting or important. And it's like, well, then, who else is in that? Was there many people in that team? Like, is that what's going to happen, sort of thing? I guess it's a weird one for like looking at the future of the game, because in my mind as well, there's just still so much in Go that needs to just be tidied up and polished and like tweaks and bug fixes. And why is everything broken every event when it turns on in New Zealand? Like, even just like little things where it's like, I understand that they're like a tech company as well, and the inflation, whatever else, like all that side of things. But it's like, Niantic has, I feel like, for some things, has their finger in too many pies of like all the different games and spin-offs of the Pokemon Go style of game, where it's like, maybe just to focus on the one that is the big one. It is like, it's the
main product,
most profitable. It's like the most enjoyed. It's the most, and not that you couldn't or shouldn't also develop other things, but there was just so many, just throw them at the wall, where it's like, okay, you are overstretched and you have too many people, but like, could those people not be utilized better, folded back in to Go or something else? Like, you have talented, knowledgeable humans with a like insane skill sets, and it's just kind of like, bye. It's like, could we not put that bloke on like the broken features that haven't been fixed for the last 3 years? Like, maybe they can work on that. Like, I don't know.
Do something.
Like, and not just get eliminated entirely. Like, it's weird, because again, I have no idea of like you know, what needs to go where to be profitable or whatever. But there's just, I think, still so much that can be done to improve the game just on a base core functional level, that it's like, can we sort that out? Because it entirely has the possibility to be like a game that's around literally forever. It's like a companion through life sort of game. Like, you can be any age, just about, you know, any ability, just about, and be able to play the game and have a good time, catch stuff, build your little collection, battle with them, don't battle with them, trade them, whatever else. And as long as, you know, either Pokemon are still releasing new Pokemon or new games or new mechanics or just something that's still interesting, people could still feasibly play this for yonks. But is that player base still going to want to be around if every time there's an event there's a bug or there's something broken or they keep changing this feature? I was like, oh, stop touching it. That thing's not broken. Touch the other thing. Like, you know, it's I deeply want it to be like in a good, stable place, and to just be like win on top of a win on top of a win. But I think honestly, maybe 2021, 2022, probably a bit after COVID, I think honestly probably around the first time that they were like, we're going to change the spin radius. That was kind of like the first really big, like, just kick in the shins to the entire community. Yeah, it was just like a massive, like, out of nowhere. And then ever since then, I don't think they've had like 3 months straight of positive. It'd be getting close to like, we've had a few good, everything's doing pretty good, some cool features, and then this thing's broken, and then this event didn't, you know, turn on right, or then we're going to change this, or we're also going to change these certain other features. And it's like, just leave it alone. Just be chill. Just be cool. Be chill about it for like 3 months straight, please. And it's kind of like, I think that yo-yoing back and forth is going to end up in the long run hurting a lot more than they probably think it does. I don't know. It's like, I think people are just going to get frustrated and be like, whatever. Because a lot of the enjoyment isn't just, you know, the Pokemon themselves. Like, that's an amazing bit. People love Pokemon. I love catching my little guys, you know. But the community bit, whether that's in person or online or however you've made your community, and your friends, if you guys aren't having fun anymore because we can't raid together anymore because that's capped, or we can't, do X, Y, and Z together anymore, or I just don't want to play anymore because every time I play there's a bug and whatever else, or it's not worth my time to go out to do that thing. When those little pockets and communities fall apart or crumble, or, don't check in as often anymore, that's when it's going to, people are just going to stop playing as well. Because it is like, it's more fun to play with people 90% of the time and go. Like, you don't have to be doing a crazy raid train and doing this thing, but even just sitting in a room with, or on the call with someone else that you enjoy and you're happy to be playing alongside each other, it's a far better experience typically than just, sitting by yourself. So I don't know. I'm always still hopeful, but I think they just need to, I think there's just a few things that could and should be done to just, preserve it, protect it, respect the community sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because it's not even just the bugs, right? Because that's like unintentional by them. But the thing that frustrates me is like the intentional removal of like good quality of life updates, right? Like the spin distance, or the incense in place spawns, or the of course remote raid passes, which is probably the latest of things. I actually saw right before we started recording this, Fleece King.
I watched that video just before.
I just bookmarked it. I didn't get a chance to see it, but he's I just saw the headline. He was talking about, the excitement for Go is just like, it's not there, right? And like, we need to do something back. I think like it hit. I didn't watch the video, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of his focus was like, oh, we need to at least bring back remote raid passes, which I think is.
I think that's a part of it.
A start. But at the same time, like for me, it's just like, when Articuno and Lugia first dropped, everyone was like losing their minds. Like, whoa, like the first legendaries you ever encounter. Of course, like now, like even if it's going to be like, I don't know, a Zarude in raids, right? Like it's like they're, everyone has one at most. Like that's exciting, but it's not like the same excitement as that first legendary, right? So like, it's just like, it's hard to replicate those same early like endorphins you get when you first play Pokemon Go, or first see a raid or whatever, or even first PvP. But I think Niantic can still do stuff to keep the game exciting and just.
I think absolutely.
Stuff,
like there's so much that they could do where it's like, I think most people would still get, if you saw a Charizard just pop up in your house, on your game, wherever you, but we've at this point, if you're playing from day one, you've got infinite Charizard, but it's still exciting to see like a full. I saw a Blastoise today and I was like, hey, what are you doing, dude? Like, sick. That's awesome. I'm like, I never see you. There's so many like just little things where they can I think they could rebuild that excitement of like, if at a grassy area or a park or a playground, there's always going to be better spawns, and there's always going to be raids on at those sorts of spots. Or like there's always, okay, if I'm at home, the spawns are going to suck. But if I go to the park in this, radius biome, whatever, there's going to be fun stuff. So therefore other people are going to go there to play. You're going to meet new people. They have tools that I can magically make these things happen. Like there's definitely ways to kind of bring a bit of the life back into it. But I think it needs to be more thought out and curated and like intentional than just like, hey, you guys want routes? Go and sort it out. Go and make your own routes, sort it out. And that's routes, I think, could be so cool, like such a great tool. But like when they dropped them, there was no instruction necessarily for what the point was. Why should people want to do it? People have probably made multiple overlapping routes at this point. So there's like 10 different ones that are, one might be better than the other, but who knows unless you do them all.
Also, the menu doesn't even work. So you can't even really...
you can't scroll.
You can't even look around. So like I've got one near me and that's the only one I do because it's the only one I know that's there, isn't it? And I know there's others, but I can't even see where they are.
You can't even scroll around on the map to see. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And even if you use people use Campfire to see it. Half of them don't even show up on Campfire. So it's like, so that's the bugs on top of that. Yeah, the bugs on top of that. It's like,
just doesn't help.
So many cool things that could be bringing people together if they were well implemented. That. People get frustrated and then they're like, oh, I hate routes, don't want to do it. But, now that there's a lot of things that have been fixed that's not as buggy, people are going to be like, well, why would I even want to try? Like it sucked the first 5 times I tried to do it. So,
What, if it was up to you, what would be like a change you would create, like executive change in the game, regardless of how hard it is to like implement?
It's hard because I don't think it would be just one thing. I think it is such a multi-layered, like it's too multi-layered to just be like doing this one thing is going to fix, because it's not going to.
Right,
I think there's definitely like the immediate sort of thing. There's definitely sort of something in the whole like remote raid piece where it's just like, it's so expensive now. Even if it's not the cap, it's double what it was, sort of thing. You could argue whether or not it's a more powerful tool for raiding, etc. But like I think a lot of online communities were definitely damaged with that change. Whether or not it should or whatever be like a price change or a limit change or whatever else, I don't know what the correct answer is, because I'm not like a massive raiding person. I would want to take that from the raid community, like what they would say.
I saw your tweet about the Master Ball research, and you were like grinding out the last few raids.
Yeah.
Right? But again, I think I saw there were
I got it.
There was a ton of content creators that were like, that was the thing they were struggling on, and I think part of it was just moving away the remote raids, and just also maybe just not a lot of exciting
nothing
things,
exciting
like,
in
who wants
the
to raid
raids,
Reshiram
like...
another time, right? Like,
bruv, you know what the thing is? I actually want to raid Reshiram.
I was like, I need to raid Reshiram.
I don't have XLs.
But Anicor's raided like 5 times in his life, so for him, raids are still exciting.
Hatred for the 100th time.
It's like, it's difficult to find people. For me, it's difficult to find people who want to raid, because again, everyone's like, well, I raided Reshiram the first time it came out, or like when it got the new move. I can't do remote raids, because even if I think, look, if I did all 5 of my remote raids every day for the week, like I'm not coming close to the 296 XL that I need to max out. So it's like this week is kind of pointless for me, because I could grind it out and still not get what I'm trying to achieve, which is a maxed out Reshiram. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well,
nor a hundo either.
So it's a bit of a
I think there's definitely like I think the first change would be something around that, where it's just like, at the moment it's just a lot of that excitement, especially around raiding, is just like, it's not there. So I think that could be a very easy, immediate, like, bit of a tweak, make it a bit more enjoyable. But again, I think the long-term overall stuff, it needs to be more intentional. Again, like thinking about, Pokemon Go has the power to make people not look both ways and run head first into traffic to try and get a Vaporeon, like 2016. Like a game had that power to make grown adults lose all common sense. Like there's nothing, not that we want people running in traffic, but like there's nothing stopping like that sort of social engineering, in a way of like, you could make the game similar to that again and encourage people into certain areas of play. Like, surely you have there's so many ways that it could be done through that, where it's like making far more exciting gameplay loops in community hubs, in places where people should be congregating, not in a bloody Coles car park. Like, why the best spawns there? That's just make it the grass spots have spicy stuff, like those sorts of things.
That's kind of mad, because it is every Coles car park. Like,
it is.
I don't know why that is the case.
I don't get run over by grandma on a little scooter if she's going into Woolies to do her groceries. Like, it shouldn't be the place where people are getting the best stuff to catch. Like,
I think some people were saying at the time as well, where it's like, it should be more of an approach of incentivizing things as opposed to, just like decentivizing things. So like something like, if you do, obviously this is what they have, but it's like, doing in-person raids gets you more rare XLs or, other sort of bonuses. That's the kind of incentivization for in-person raids, as opposed to being like, well, you just can't do remote raids.
I think even like a minor one that I can think of actually recently, there was that, it was a bug, sadly, but remember when our radius was just like a little bit bigger by accident?
Everyone was so excited on Twitter.
Everyone was so so we moved house. Yeah, we moved house, and in this house I have 0 house spawns unless I'm like in the back corner of the garden sort of thing. Like, there's spawns at my neighbors across the street, but if I play the game in my house, I have nothing. So ever since living here, I don't open the game at home because why would I? There's nothing to catch unless I'm doing PvP. I have no reason to open the game at home. That whole week when that bug happened, I was opening the game every bloody hour because I could actually catch the spawns that were across the street, and guaranteed every single day when I opened up, I was like, oh, I can get my spawns. I saw something on the nearby that was like, it was like Jangmo, and I'm like, oh, well, now I got to put my shoes on and go and get it. I left the house every single day just because I could catch something at home. And it's like, it might sound counterintuitive to like, oh, make the house spawns, people won't go outside. And it's like, well, no, now I've opened the game because I know there's stuff at home. And now I'm bloody 10 minutes down the street trying to chase this Jangmo down before it despawns. Like, oh, now I'm already out. I might as well do my daily incense. Or oh, I'm already out. I might as well do a raid or whatever else. Like those things where they're not thinking like, well, we better just make it more fun we don't want you to play at home. And it's like, well, yeah, you do, because then people are playing the game. And if they're playing the game, they're going to participate in the game. Like,
yeah, they need like, I like that analogy too, because it's like, I feel like seeing spawns you catch at home leaves like a trail of breadcrumbs for you to go outside and do stuff. But right now, Niantic's just like, no, you don't see no bread. Like, you got to drive to the store to see the bread sealed behind like the fridge, right, for you to get it. And it's just too much of a commitment for people, I feel like.
Yeah. If you wanted to look at it through the most like, gimme your money sort of lens as well, every single opportunity for someone to open their game is an opportunity for them to appear online to a friend who is doing a raid, to send them a raid invite, for them to spend XYZ dollars to buy a remote raid pass, to do all those sorts of, they're going to be like super cynical about it. That's like every
like
single
lean into the
opportunity to like get
please.
exactly.
Take all the microtransactions, just make the game
like that's the thing that confuses me.
And they're sleeping on it. Like
they purposely got rid of remote raids. They're like actively reducing the microtransactions they're making off of these. I was just like, when I saw that, I was like, do they not want to make money? Like, I don't understand.
And it's like, okay, I'm like, I can understand like the ethical side of it, sort of thing. Like when how Michael was saying, like people that whale in the game or like are spending like extreme amounts, where it's like, I can understand the ethics side of things, where it's like, are we accidentally enabling an addictive, that sort of thing? But
I mean, you're a game creator. You're already enabling some type of addiction.
There's plenty of people who, this is their hobby or activity. They don't go to the movies. They don't do necessarily a sport. They're not paying $500 for registration fees and whatever else for playing a sport and the uniform and whatever else. And they want to play Pokemon. Like,
Do you know what? They might even inadvertently be saving these people from being at the casino. They're trying to roll shiny Reshiram. They might have been trying to roll 3 cherries,
I
don't know about roll if it's a slot machine, but it's great that you say that, because one of my friends, actually, Anicor, Auburn, he's like a huge grinder of the game, but also he's really good at PvP too. He used to not be good at PvP, so I had something over him, and now like he's better than me in everything in the game. But he would tell me, he was like, yeah, like I like definitely whale out in the game and stuff, but he's like, it's way better than me spending a night like $100 at the bar every night, right? Instead, he's like, this is
significantly
some
healthier.
might say it's not healthy, but it's way healthier than the alternative for him. So and I remember he told me that like years ago, and I was just like, yeah, I guess that makes sense actually, right? And it is your money, you can do what you want with it, but I don't. Hopefully they figure some stuff out for sure for the future. But speaking of the future as well, Zoe, what are kind of the future plans for you? I know maybe it's not on, planned out fully, but obviously, like, Go content is still happening. But have you ever like thought about like doing content on other games or other things and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for short term ish, like upcoming plans, Melbourne, gonna get good. Go to Melbourne for the regionals. I mean, the next bit of DLC is dropping the 14th, is it, for Scarlet Violet? So we'll more than likely be streaming that and playing through that. But overall, I'm honestly like pretty happy to kind of bounce around like wherever the road takes me, sort of thing. Like, you know, if Niantic decides we're just going to turn off all the spawns ever in Pokemon Go, and you know you have to imagine your Pokemon, I'm going to have to adapt pretty quickly to you know, figure out something else. But I think Pokemon overall has just a lot that you can enjoy with it, whether it's main series or cards or whatever else. So nothing crazy locked in, besides, you know, the usual scheduled broadcast.
Yeah. Are you going to LA by chance for
I
the tour?
Would like to. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah. Okay. More than likely.
Maybe I'll see you
either
there.
way.
Yeah.
I'll hassle it, be like, can I stay on someone's couch?
I actually have a couch on like Anicor, so and I'm finally out of a studio, so I actually have like a bedroom too, and a closed off.
Coming soon.
Yeah, Anicor's gonna have a couch like a day before he leaves Australia, because you're leaving in like your visa's up in February, right?
Yeah, mid-Feb. Yeah.
You still don't have the couch. What's up the couch?
I swear I'll get one this week.
He says this every week in the podcast.
Kids fold out
he still has a microwave. He has to unpack in the background. I can see it right now.
That's not even a microwave, in it. That's a long story. I had some subletters, and they like took some stuff when I came back. And I was like, bruv, like, the thing is, it's not even expensive stuff, it's just like Kmart shit, But I was like, first day back, and I'm like, okay, but I don't have any spoons.
Where's my...
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, and I'm like, who does this? Do you know what I mean? So basically, I had to go at them, and they sent it back in that. So well,
they sent it back. You were like,
there's like a lot of stuff.
I want my spoon.
No, honestly, in it, like,
absolutely.
What are we gonna do without spoons? You know?
Yeah, but that is weird. Why would they take spoons?
Good on you for making them bring it back.
Yeah, that is odd.
That honestly, like the fact that there is spoons plus whatever else in a Kmart microwave box, that tells me the whole story that I need to know.
Exactly,
I know exactly what's going down, and I'm like,
yeah, I don't.
I know exactly what kind of situation.
I didn't expect the microwave either.
No, I don't own a microwave because I don't need one. Yeah, not because I haven't gotten around to buying one.
Anyway, well, those were pretty much all the questions I have. So, do you have any questions?
I've got some last. I mean, is not necessarily focused on, anything we've been chatting about. But this weekend is the Gdansk regional. Yeah, first regional of the new meta. Meta's been out for like a week. A week, or like it will have been out for like a week. What do you guys think? What Pokemon's really going to shine this weekend?
I mean, I think I think Clodsire is really good, but people just still don't know how. I think it's actually really good, but it's going to be 100% two Pokemon for sure. Two water Pokemon. Whiscash and Poliwrath are busted right now. They're like super strong. Yeah, they both learned Scald, and they went from a 30% chance of debuffing your opponent's attack to 50%. And then on top of that, they also made it do more damage. And the energy is the same.
So it got like a double damage and energy as Oblivion Wing.
Yeah.
So Poliwrath has the same kind of move as Veltor. Yeah,
but better because there's a 50% chance of debuffing your opponent.
Because there's a
Oblivion Wing's not even as good. Poliwrath and Whiscash.
Poliwrath.
I'm throwing Scald at grass Pokemon. I'm throwing Scald at like a Zoomro instead of Mud Bomb because I'm like, I'm just going to fish for the debuff and see what happens. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to sit down and look. Like I read through all of the move changes, but it's like I haven't had a chance to like actually sit down and listen to the experts on what the vibe check is. I saw Caleb's ranking and I got angry at the Detonate and then didn't look at the rest of it. So
yeah, it was like right next to the irrelevant like category.
It's just and Smoliv. You put I'm gonna make Smoliv work for Baby League or something. That's disrespectful.
Someone was using Smoliv in Great League last season.
I was looking up I'm like, where's Olive? I'm like, where's Olive rank? Yes, good. I mean, I'm really curious to see how it like changes up. I'm always like a big fan of just like the spicy-ish pick that functions. Like I love seeing when someone's like, "Oh, you're going to bring that to the regionals," and then it's like, when they come like first or second, and it's
This weekend's
I
gonna
know
be wild.
I enjoy that.
You said
it's definitely about the spicy one.
I was going to say.
Yeah. You say Gdansk,
oh yeah,
right?
it's not Gdansk.
Yes, Gdansk where it happens. It's Stuttgart. Yeah. Anyway. Small details.
I want to see Gastrodon. You said Gastrodon has potential, apparently, allegedly. I want to see someone
buffed.
rocking.
They get slightly buffed, but it's just like when Whiscash is also like just.
I know, it's so good. Whiscash is
super strong. It just it's gonna be interesting.
I keep forgetting to replace my PvP Whiscash. It's one that I built like the first week of PvP, and then I just keep forgetting to replace it. It is the worst
built a new
possible.
one recently just because.
I know I need to.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. And I like transferred all my Barboach, and I'm like, damn it! Like every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Wait, Anicor,
I
what's
actually
your
did a bit of a clear out before the end of the season, and then.
Whoopsies.
I could have used those, Yeah.
Wait, what's your prediction?
Okay, so I think I wouldn't have picked Poliwrath, but that's just because I'm not sure in show 6 if you're going to reliably bring it, because I feel like there's at least like 2 to 3 natural Poliwrath counters going to be on most teams in it. So I feel like Azumarill is like a very safe pick, like Lantern, something like that,
Apparently you could just muscle through those matchups with debuffing them. It's kind of crazy. Apparently, that's not me, but apparently that's the situation. Yeah,
that's kind of mad. I wouldn't expect that against Azumarill, so that's kind of wild. I reckon so. Although the obvious picks are like Skarmory, Talonflame, I think that Shadow Dragonair, DD. I think these are maybe not like hot takes, right? But I think the hot take is Trevor. I think
Trev is back.
I think Trev is back. Yeah,
I think
Skarmory that's not even running like a flying fast attack.
Yeah,
and
Trev is like the only grass
Trev
type
so
that
much
you can comfortably use against the flyers, right? Because otherwise, like Venu, you're getting fully walled off by Skarmory. Serperior, you're getting walled off by basically both of them. But Trev can actually hit back, and there's not really any dark types in the meta at the moment. Or it doesn't seem like it. And I think it's maybe because everyone's expecting Azumarill. So you don't really have many Trev counters as well at the moment. So
Lickitung, Umbreon. I think
Lickitun's the only one. Yeah. But exactly. It's not
Trev counters. Talonflame and Skarmory all over the place.
I know they're counters. But as in like, do you know what I mean? Those are their counters, but you can still hit back. Yeah. So it at least gives you play, right? So I think that's like the superior grass. And also Charger Bug's been looking pretty good recently.
This
pretty good recently.
And Trevna has played into
in
it,
Brisbane.
so makes sense.
Flip it. So actually, Zoe, we were like the podcast before Brisbane. I was showing Caleb my team, and I think he was just like, yes, really weak into Charger Bug.
And I was like,
who's going to be running Charger Bug at Brisbane? Yeah. So obviously it was Vish that kicked me out. Running a Charger Bug.
Yeah.
When I saw Vish's team, I was like, I have clearly been sleeping for a season because what the hell? Why is there a Charger Bug? There's an Arctic. I'm like, what's going on? These little dudes. And I'm like, this is a great team. I love this. These little dudes.
It was really good.
They pack a punch. Charger Bug is better than the Vikavolt too, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But I know earlier in this episode you said, you're trying to figure out like what's the bridge between kind of like casual Pokemon Go and PvP. But I think you're that bridge, Zoe, in many ways too, right? Going to events and stuff. I don't think a lot of like the general Pokemon Go creators go to as many tournaments or have participated in any. I did convince the cruise ship, Tom Cruise, to he went to Toronto, but I don't think he made content around it. But he's gonna be stopping by our local tournaments in LA soon too. So
good stuff.
So
he saw me like I think post whatever on my story, and he was like eyes emoji, being like, "Did you compete?" And I'm like, I'm like, oh, blah blah blah. And he's like, "I went and competed for this." I was like, oh, like let's go, dude. Like,
you got that
excited for him, yeah. Him and his. That's what I'm saying. Like him and his Lunatone, but it's like he's gonna do well with it because he loves it and he practices with it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and bring my dead name.
One game with it. So,
let's go.
I think also, with locals, I expect Australian locals to just be around the corner, right? Because they just announced the
I
LATAM
hope
ones.
so.
So hopefully that's also another opportunity to be able to bridge that gap. Because I don't know, when I was thinking about doing locals in London, and this was before locals were actually useful for championship points. So I just wanted to do like just the locals for PvP players, and I was thinking there's a lot of things that you can integrate, like you can utilize Campfire, you can utilize the ambassador program for like codes and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that are currently available that you can utilize to make it appealing to as many people as possible, right? And now that they're actually official tournaments, give out championship points, you get little prizes, and you get like little like entry prizes for even just competing, even if you don't win. Maybe there's a lot more room for for making it appealing to people who maybe previously wouldn't have considered even doing any PvP. So
even just accessible, like if someone can't afford to fly to Brisbane or Melbourne, and it's like you can't convince mum to, oh, come on mum, let me go and compete in this. It's like, no mate, but if there's one down the road that you can go to that's your local,
well, do you know what,
points,
technically in Australia it's possible to qualify for Worlds only through locals due to how many points you actually need.
If locals were to arrive,
that would be
if locals arrive,
if they get there quick enough.
Yeah. So it is actually possible to qualify for Worlds completely from locals. Like you don't have to turn a single regional. Obviously,
honestly, like you would hope so, because we are so spread out and we only have the 3 actual events. Like you would technically need that to be an option.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like
you had to go to all 3 and still like compete pretty, or like perform pretty well. So
yeah. Fingies crossed.
That'd be wild. Hey,
locals,
if we get Zoe to Worlds, qualify Worlds, you get your.
I don't want to take someone else's spot.
No. You don't take anyone else's spot. If you qualify, that's your spot. Like because it's championship points. So like once you hit the threshold, it's not like they don't. I more mean
like but if someone else won, like I'm probably going to go to Worlds anyway. Just to like.
But then
be there.
If you could compete too, it'd be great. You'll be there because they have to go anyway.
Then I have to get good.
Well, you can always just go to have fun too. I will say, if you're not sold, they give you swag bags just for the Worlds competitors, and like
you can sell that for quite a bit.
Well, you could do that, or you could they come with great stuff. Like they had like a Pikachu ramen bowl, the Yokohama one, and like a Switch case and a bunch of stuff, some T-shirts. Yeah, it was great. yeah. So, but anyway,
we'll see.
We'll see how that goes for sure. But we're a little over 2 hours. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. And I think I learned a lot. I heard you on previous podcasts before, but I still feel like there was still a lot of new stories that I heard about your journey here too. So hopefully our audience enjoyed it as well. But for those that want to find more of your content, where is the best place for people to find you?
If you type ZoëTwoDots, ZoëTwoDots into any sort of search engine, I should pop up in any platform that you prefer. But I guess most active on YouTube. You can find me over on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff. I have a very low activity TikTok as well, if that's your thing.
Same.
But you can find me wherever you want to find me, and come and find out what's happening in events like a good 16 hours before it happens for you, so you get a bit of a heads up. And I'll let you know what's going on.
Which is still earlier than
it's good. It's pretty good.
It's true.
Honestly, true. Half the time.
You can catch her in Melbourne too in person if you want to. If you want to battle against her.
Come to Melbourne. Come fight me in Melbourne.
Yeah,
in the game.
YouTube match. That'd be great. Yeah,
that would be hilarious.
And maybe fingers crossed, it might be like an unofficial stream from Melbourne. That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic. Fingers crossed.
I'm hoping that's obviously there's a lot of work to still be done, but I'm hoping that's like guaranteed for Melbourne, because it's like.
Would you cast Anicor if they asked you to like help out? Or throw your name in the hat yourself? He's between like wanting to qualify and wanting to be a caster.
Pretty much. Because honestly, the thing is that like I also know that definitely. So again, if a stream happens, it will be a community stream, and most likely led by Steve. And I do also know that there's definitely a lot that I can help him with. Because I know that he's going to be having to tackle a lot of the in-person production sort of side, so he probably won't even be able to cast it himself because he'll be having to manage all that stuff. So I know there's technically a lot that I could help him with, but I really want to compete. I feel like this season is my season, bro.
Okay. All right.
You know what? I left Brisbane a changed man. Yeah, I left also very early in the morning, so I was quite tired.
Fire in your heart,
But
the thing you gotta know about Anicor though is he always has fire in his heart, but the fire is like it's a little misleading because he's like, Caleb, I'm ready this time. I'm getting 8 hours sleep every night. I'm gonna be like sleeping on my special bed and like meditating. I'm getting my mind right and my body right. And then 3 months later, he's saying the same thing to me. Like, I'm back in Australia. I'm ready to get my mind and body right. Like, because he was saying, when he's in Australia, he's like, when I go back to London, this is what I'm going to do, right? And they say the same thing when he gets to Australia. He's like, when I get to Australia, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah.
To all the viewers and listeners out there, I think one thing that's very important that you should take from this is that it's a constant journey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't want to. You can't burn out.
I still got faith. Yeah, exactly. I still got faith.
If you go up in like a massive blaze, the firefighter's going to come and put you out, and you're done. If you slow burn, you could just slowly kind of,
If Anicor gets a couch tomorrow, then what are we going to talk about anymore, right?
What are we going to talk about? Exactly.
Like he's going to wait until the last day when he's in Australia for us to figure out if he ever gets his couch.
Do you know what? I might even get a couch and just hide it from the camera.
You're thinking 10 steps too far ahead. Yeah, you still have spoons packed up in a microwave box that you don't even own a microwave for. So figure out how you're going to eat your Xbox cereal first.
Have spoons that I use, right? Those are now duplicate spoons, so which is why they're still packed up.
Glad you don't have to wash the one spoon you use after every use.
Yeah. I have five. Yeah.
Oh, what a great time. Anyway, thank you all for joining in. But yeah, go follow Zoe on the socials and hope to see more content from you, especially PvP content. But until then, everyone take care and have a good one. Peace.
Safe.